It's your Geek Show. I'm Miss Shannon here with Jason Satia and Rob Callahan. We welcome you to this week's episode. We have lots of, we think, fun things in store, and we're going to get to our guest in a second because it's just going to take a minute to explain our guest. And I only kind of warned the fellas that I had our new relationship expert that was going to hang out, but I just wanted you to meet him in person first, because otherwise it wouldn't make any sense.
I think I still need an extra 10 more minutes just to get to know this gentleman a little bit better. Everybody
needed coffee and all those things, but trust me, he's really good at what he does. It just takes a minute, but it's all going to be worth it. So,
Jayden, I don't know about you, but I thought I was the relationship expert of the show.
I get all my relationship advice from you, Rob, and it's worked out splendidly well.
Yeah. But that's because you're already married and you don't have to listen to.
The thing is, I don't have to take any of your advice. So I'm good.
Oh, so we'll start with our geekly stories of the week. I actually have two good ones this week. This week we are Games of Thrones inspired is what we'll start with. There's two very good games, a Game of Thrones things. Are you guys big fans of Game of Thrones or just casual viewers?
Yeah, I'm caught up.
Okay. So you can be our biggest expert. I watch it, but I watch it very cautiously, usually through my fingers. So I only know bits and pieces. Then I have to catch up the rest on the blog because it's a bit intense for me.
I liked the tribal character in the first season.
Okay.
But he died.
Okay, and so you checked out after that point.
No, I put it on in the background while I worked.
Okay, I think so.
All right, relationship expert.
So there are
sound effects too.
The thing that I like about Game of Thrones is that it's one of those things where the fans are very good fans, and you've heard about a number of mega fans that actually have other careers. For instance, the band Coldplay are big fans of the show Game of Thrones, to the fact that they have now registered a number of Game of Thrones entitled songs that might come out on future albums. So they have, it's Rastafarian Targaryen is what I believe is the name of it. Targaryen. Yep. So that one's there. They have a Red Wedding one.
Wow.
And then one that they right now is the working title of I'm a Real Bastard, and that's supposed to be dedicated to Jon Snow's character.
Yes.
And I think that that's cool because I do watch this enough to I look for the little cameos. So I know that like Will Champion from that popped up, and they've had those other things. So I like watching other famous people be fans of shows that we all watch, because
that makes them us. So it makes them, again, I'm a Coldplay fan, but this makes me like Coldplay even more. Mm-hmm. Be like, look, they're also watching the same thing I'm watching.
We could hang out.
And I bet they don't have an HBO Go account. They're actually watching it on HBO as it's happening. And
so HBO is the great equalizer.
Yes, I would like to go to a Chris Martin viewing party. I'd like to sit at
Wouldn't that be fun?
We could have the viewing party of the episodes. And then he could warn me when I should cover my eyes. I'm like, oh my God, it's getting too bloody.
Remember how last week we talked about watching other people react?
Yes.
I would love to watch Coldplay, Chris Martin react as he's watching Game of Thrones. That would be amazing.
Yes, we should get the other person, and this is my favorite Game of Thrones fan, is Snoop Dogg. So Snoop Dogg, we all know, great rapper. How can you not know Snoop Dogg? And he's been into Game of Thrones from the beginning. He actually used to do weekly recaps on his YouTube channel of Game of Thrones, where he sit there and I like it because it goes through the Snoop Dogg I'm really too high to watch anything filter. And so it came out last week that people were asking him, hey, we know you're a really big Game of Thrones fan. And Snoop Dogg said, yeah. He probably said Bow Wow first, but he said, yeah. And he said, I like to know how we got from there to here and the similarities between then and now, and talked about it like it was history. And that's fantastic because he's not stupid. You just know he's high. And so
it's a brilliant high guy.
Right. Because it's like when you end up being Snoop Dogg and saying things like, well, what's the similarities? And he starts talking about Game of Thrones like it's real. That's another thing that makes me feel like, you know what, I really am like Snoop Dogg. Because I talk about my favorite shows like they're for real. I don't pretend that they're real history. But I do talk about that actually probably could happen. And no, it can't. So
I think some of it is on history, right? Let's just pretend that it is. And I want to know
what shows you think are real, or what shows you.
I talk about them like they're real, and then I have to catch myself. I'm like, oh my gosh, when I was in my super big Star Trek thing, I would have to catch myself. And then when Kirk did that, every incarnation of it, I've caught myself in the middle of a conversation talking like they're real people. Yeah. Not even if. When? Did you see when? As if I was recounting a tale of something that an actual friend did, and it's really just a TV show. And I would talk about them like it was real, I get caught up.
There were time travel episodes where it's very obvious the crew of the Enterprise influenced history, and that's real. They met Mark Twain.
Right. And and I like that. I like
An
the feel
alien
like
Abraham Lincoln.
I probably would not have the same reality if they didn't set everything up for us. That's why these shows are fantastic. And so the fact that Snoop Dogg, are you familiar with the Game of Thrones mixtapes?
I'm not.
Okay, so
Rob,
they have
are you?
No.
Rob's like, oh, we're still on this topic. What?
So they have 2 of them. They have 2 volumes of it out at this point, and it has all of these people like Anthrax and all these other people that have created songs about the shows. And so the one I have this morning is I have Snoop Dogg's. It's Lannister's Anthem.
Lannister always pays his debts.
In the roads, breakers of the chains, sword of the Lord, war of 5 kings, lowers of the rock, sitting on an iron throne, betrayal, revenge, murder now his mind's gone, the trial about to happen, he smiled while he cracking, for real, cause he ready for that action, rich, wealthy, and sinister, welcome to the house of the Lannister, honor thy lord, swing my sword, serving the war. We got the power, 7 kingdoms strong. Welcome to the house of the Lannister. Honor thy lord, swing my sword, serving the war. We got the power, 7 kingdoms strong.
My favorite part of that so far is when he says sword, like that. Like
Sword. Now let's go back to the last week episode again.
Yes.
What if Shatner did this? Rob?
I don't think he has flow like Snoop.
Sword.
If Shatner did this, I would stick ice picks into my ears and deafen myself.
You weren't feeling that one?
No, I liked it. Although I have to say I was disappointed. It was very lo-fi, and you don't usually get that from Snoop.
He just spits, man. He just spits.
Right. I think he was just focusing on the, telling a story.
And you can tell he's a fan.
Yeah.
You can, in that, the 30 seconds were heard, he's a fan.
It sounds like it was produced by someone who was really, really high.
Well, imagine that.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, there are
for somebody who
Snoop
was really,
has
really
worked with
high.
some really competent producers. He could have had Dre come over and lay down those beats for him.
I don't think he was worried about it. I'm sure he put it together and he sent it over to the producers for the.
I'm sure this wasn't for like an iTunes release by any means.
No. It was there's an actual. You can download the entire album. Yes, and so not just this one. There's an entire album that is created for Game of Thrones. And like I said, this isn't the first one. It's this is the second Catch the Throne mixtape. Yeah, so this is the Catch the Throne mixtape.
That throne is made of swords. Why would you want to catch that?
Swords.
Yeah.
All right, look, I'll get the whole album and then you can do a review of the entire Catch the Thrones mixtape. Maybe I expect mixtapes to not be always a finished.
I can't review
product.
it. I don't review for anyone anymore.
You can review for us.
Oh.
Are we talking about your former position?
Yeah.
So you're just giving up on reviewing?
I'm not giving up. I'm not paid to do it anymore.
Well, it can just be
if I was working in a call center and I got fired, would you be like, "Are you giving up on working in call centers?" No, you wouldn't do that. You'd say, "Go get another job."
Well, go get another job, but this is the practice. It's like it's you making sure that
it's keeping up on your craft until you land your next position.
Yes, yes. So, all right. I mean, I feel like our guest is itching to weigh in on some of the topics that we have to talk about today. So, I'll back up. All right. So, I have a lot of friends. I have this particular friend. He has a particular skill, and I met him a number of years ago. And look, so it turns out, just so you guys know, He's an incubus demon that I met a while ago at Don't look at me all funny. No, really, because
he thinks you mean the band.
No, I don't. I mean like the real thing. So look, I used to hang out at this bar, at this dance club, and I met this guy, and I thought that everything was cool, and then it turned out he was always just causing trouble. And then once you get to know a person, you get their backstory. So his name's Nikahotep, and he's a Babylonian incubus demon. And so at first I thought he was just one of those guys that you really could just kind of go, okay, that's cool. You don't mean to cause mischief. But then after a while, I'm like, no, you were just trouble. So I ended up binding him, and he just
sucks.
Shut up. So he hangs out with me. That's why I brought the box, because I need the box.
I was very curious on the heart-shaped, flowery
So
Black box.
the way that it works is that I had to bind him, and he lives in this jewelry box that's with the rest of my jewelry. And if I don't keep the box, then he just goes completely.
Should I have like a
off the
cross
rails.
on me right now?
No,
So
he's safe. He's completely safe. It's like once you get a dog and you
Not
put him in
that
an invisible
religious by any
fence.
means, but-
No, when you put him in an invisible fence and then they don't go outside of the
Got it.
invisible fence,
I
that's
got
what
you.
happens.
My
Got it.
dog
The box.
just stands on the line where the invisible fence is supposed to be.
So, guys, this is my friend Nikahotep, and the thing that he is really good about is he does give really good relationship advice. And we were talking like earlier this week. And he's a big geek like we are, and he watches way too much TV. So I thought he'd be good to kind of give us another perspective on things. He's actually kind of a cheery guy most of the time. So I wanted to introduce you to my friend. So
Hi, good to meet you guys.
Yeah.
Well,
Nice
hello.
to meet you too.
Call me Nick.
Thanks for coming out.
Hey,
Nick
no, good to
Hotep.
Nick Hotep. Good to meet you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So what kind of advice are you going to give us?
Well, it depends what the questions are. It's been a crazy week.
I was going to
has
say, there's a
been.
lot of relationship stuff happening in like pop culture.
Yeah, with Tiger, for example.
Tiger and Lindsey Vonn, they broke up.
Well, I mean, seriously, what's up with that?
I thought that was forever.
Didn't you think they had found true love?
well,
Is that what you thought?
How do you think?
Well, I thought Tiger had.
I thought the opposite. I thought Lindsay believed that it might be true love and made a mistake. So I feel like, why would you be surprised that a professional cheater cheated on you?
Right? How could she not have learned her lesson from his past wife? And then, it just once a cheater, always a cheater.
I mean, do you think, from your professional experience, do you think that we could have like fixed him? Is there some drink he could have taken? Is there some, like, what should she have done?
She should have bound him.
Oh, I got it right the first time is what you're saying. So,
But isn't that, again, being naive and being in a relationship for decades, isn't something that women do try to change? Or, isn't that something that happens in relationships is you try to change the other person, try to
You
put them into your mold?
You want to try to find balance. It's finding balance, and balance is the key. For example, Shannon balances me out, and
Yes.
she tries to make me be a better person.
But it's a mutual
And you love
balance,
that, don't
though.
you? You absolutely love it.
It's true, and I, on the other hand, try to bring her down, and ask her to do things that she wouldn't normally otherwise.
he does push my boundaries quite often, and
Do. And that's
it's
how
that
she-
comfort level thing.
Right.
He tries to push me out of my comfort zone.
So what do you think happened with their relationship?
Well,
was there no balance? Was there too much balance on one side?
Well, I think, without actually knowing the full story behind Lindsay and Tiger, I don't think we'll ever really know. But I think
because now there's conflicting rumors. Like,
Right.
did he cheat on her? Did he not cheat on her?
right. But again, it's same story, same song, different verse, right? I mean, we had the same sort of thing. He was on a professional tour when he was, doing the horizontal mambo with somebody else, with a supermodel. I mean, his wife was a supermodel at the time. So, it's hard to break patterns.
The other relation we were talking about, we did, and this we don't want to call it a complete spoiler. We presume that a lot of people have seen Age of Ultron already, but we were very interested in the relationship between Black Widow.
This is very
and
upsetting.
Hulk. Yes,
you brought me to this
you
movie.
Were very.
You brought me to this movie last week. I liked.
You wanted to see it.
I liked the
Okay.
majority of the movie. But this whole relationship between Black Widow and the Hulk has me upset.
Now I found it very comforting. Like I
Trite.
believe trite. I thought that was the most realistic thing in a movie that's not supposed
Touch
to
my
be
wrist,
real.
make me lose my powers.
Right, because she's
Real
very,
in the real sense. Like, there's effed up stuff that happens in
Right.
relationships. Like, I'm messed up and you're messed up.
and
so
we
we're going to
should
try
be
to fix each other.
or we're not. We just have complementary malfunctions, and maybe that's how we will.
Let's go be crazy together.
Right, we'll base our relationship upon our complementary malfunctions.
Hey, man, I'm
That's
crazy.
what I felt
My
like.
wife's a little crazy. Will we work well that way?
Because
So I'm with you, Shannon. I actually liked that real part of the film.
I felt like
Now, I
that
think
part was very relatable.
Nikotep might be interested in who would you rather have, Black Widow?
On her own.
Oh, so she should just be Miss Independent lady.
Independent
Because she's
woman.
Yes.
She doesn't need. She doesn't need a man. I mean, seriously. You saw the SNL mock,
Yes.
the SNL mock video. You know, she really shouldn't need a man to be a superhero.
Well, she still is a super woman. I mean, she's super. That doesn't mean that you don't occasionally want a man. What is the difference between like I need you and I want you?
She's also not an alien, right? She's a human.
No,
being
she is a
who's
human.
just trained,
True.
so she's
Right.
still an
She
emotional
has feelings.
woman.
She could still need to, sometimes she wants somebody that she could cuddle up to.
What's wrong with Cap?
No, you like what?
Well, in terms of cuddling, here's what's wrong with Cap. Cap is very, very chiseled, whereas Dr. Banner is kind of doughy and squishy, and you could,
He's got that dad bod. Is that what you're saying?
you could lay on him like a giant pillow.
He'd be good at snuggling, is what Rob thinks. I think that would work.
Well, you know, and that might be great.
And you're so shallow. That's what it is, just being shallow now.
That's why you love me.
No, it actually isn't. That is not why I love you. I thought, just because maybe I just felt like that gave me something where I could actually relate to Black Widow on. Like I felt like that a conversation had come out of my mouth before when somebody was like, "No, here's everything that's wrong with me," and I was like, "That's okay."
So you were okay
Here's everything that's wrong with me, and we'll be fine. And I'm totally accepting of all of your all of the things that you think are a negative. I'm not that bad with. I think it's all right.
And
know
then
the
he
others-
hops on a Quinjet, and you
Right.
never see him again.
Yes, and that's pretty much it. For me,
That's-
it's I get
that's-
slammed into the
right.
friend
That's-
zone,
see
and I'm
what-
like,
see what happens. See what happens when you have two messed up people. I can't deal with this, so I'm going to run away.
You got that, and then you got Hawkeye with an entire family.
Right? He came out. Hawkeye came out of the closet.
I'm like, where did this whole family come from? That
I mean,
was
seriously, that was messed up.
In the comics, he was married to Mockingbird, Bobby Morris.
Right.
And
right.
and now she's a regular character on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is in the same universe. I was
Right.
kind of disappointed there wasn't some
Crossover,
reference to that.
I think, and this is back to I'm trying to, as a fan of so much of the comics, I do appreciate that they switch some of those things up. Otherwise, there will be no surprises whatsoever if they specifically follow everything. So I feel like I'm playing that game of, oh, this takes the place of this particular activity, or this person is going to be this now, and trying to figure out where they're going to line up, because you know where some of the end game ends up going. Like if we know what the last two movies are going to be for the Avengers movies, it's like, but what actual chain of events are going to happen in the Marvel Cinematic Universe that we have now that'll be different from what we saw in the comic books?
Well, so speaking of the comic book crossover piece of it, so how do you feel about the how they kind of altered Scarlet Witch a little bit with in the movie when that thing happened? I don't want to give too much away of the movie, but when that thing happened, that where bada boom, bada bang, and she kind of went a little bit.
Just, when I took him to the movie, that's the part where like he just started screaming. I'm like, shh, people are looking at
I
us.
started to cry a little
Yeah,
bit.
and so he was very disappointed.
And where her traditionally in the comics, her powers are kind of like she's one of the more stronger mutants in the mythos.
They don't call them that.
Well, sorry, enhanced.
Now they're enhanced.
Well, thank you, Fox.
My disappointment with the Scarlet Witch was that at the end she wasn't hooking up with Vision, which in the comics they had like the Vision and Scarlet Witch, they had their own limited
yep.
series. They had, even though the Vision is a robot,
Yep.
they had kids together.
Children's
Yeah.
Crusade.
Yeah.
Love that series.
Isn't it that we just didn't get to that yet? I presumed that would pop up. Or
There
have
were
potential
hints
later.
of it, I
He,
guess,
yeah.
but
he did save her.
yeah.
And they look
he had
longing-
the
the
heroic
longing look-
like knight in shining armor
Right.
walk with her in his arms.
Yes.
And it was Paul Bettany.
So you're okay with that relationship where he came in and
Well,
rescued her, but then so
because
she
like a
needs
true
somebody,
man-
even though he's not like
he's
a real.
a true man with no emotions.
Oh, gee.
Perfect relationship. Just get a man with no emotions.
He's what the Hulk wishes he
I
was.
feel like I've
Exactly.
dated men with no emotions before. That doesn't work out for you either. It's very frustrating, trust me. Why don't you feel anything? So, no, you don't want that either. I mean, and this week, I know you had some other signs of frustration. We kind of think, oh, look at him. He's just all freaking out.
Well, seriously, if you were trapped in a box all week and had only a phone, without a television, I mean, all
You
I
mean
have,
like a phone or like a text
Okay,
machine?
no, he
thing
has
in
a
your hand?
smartphone. I got him a smartphone. There's a smartphone that fits in the
and
box.
all I could do is watch trailers, and it
You
was
had-
ridiculous.
It was a bad week for trailers. There were very maddening trailers this
Oh.
week. And so I think that the one that made not just us mad, but the internet in general mad is that a lot of fans of the 1985 Gem and the Holograms cartoon series were looking forward to this new Gem and the Holograms movie. And the trailer came out, and it was not magical. I was truly outraged. I was truly, that was like,
You
not
truly-
outraged. I was
it
truly,
was-
truly outraged by the trailer for Gem and the Holograms, because it is nothing like the other one. I like, and it made my heart hurt so much. I went and I found the original theme song. Can we play that? Just the. I'm in a happy place now, hearing this. It's like,
There's a dance party happening and you don't even know it.
she was truly outrageous.
Loved her to death. And this trailer that happened, I almost cracked the mirror.
I think if you're not familiar with the original 1985 series, I mean, it was made by the same people at the time that were doing the G.I. Joe TV
Yep.
shows and the Transformers TV shows.
So impossible with terrible writing and
it
really
wasn't,
bad
no,
animation.
campy, very
Yes.
campy for what it was. And but the thing that I thought was good about it at the time is that yes, it had female characters, but it wasn't My Little Pony or something. It wasn't just made for little girls. I knew a lot of guys, boys that watched it, because they did always have, they had these rival bands that were vying for attention, and then the Misfits would come in and almost sink a ship, and then somebody had to rescue them. And it was these characters that would do heroic things, and they were in a band.
Right.
And so I think that when we were presented with, there's going to be a new Gem and the Holograms movie, of course we thought that there would be similarities to the old Gem and the Holograms series. And now
Aside from the name.
the name, and that is where we get to this Gem 2015 thing that had. So the trailer came out earlier this week, and aside from the name, there seems to be absolutely no similarities whatsoever. So, I have we'll play part of the trailer, because if we play the whole trailer, then we'll just be mad. So.
I'll break windows.
I, Jerica Benton, am living the most unexceptional life.
Get one of those grocery bags.
My sister Kimber and I live with our Aunt Bailey and her 2 foster kids.
Here she is.
Sing one of your songs.
I don't like being on camera.
At some point, we all wish that we could just become someone else.
I'm gonna play you a song I wrote.
Who's got the heart of a hunter, pounding like thunder.
She'll thank me later.
Thousand thunder.
Something's happening that you really need to see.
What?
Oh my God. Is that me?
Did you do this, Kimber?
This is about you not going your whole life wondering what would have happened if you didn't take that chance.
You are no longer Jerica. Jen, that's what we call you now.
That means changing the way you act, sound, and look.
This is us?
No, it's Photoshop.
If you guys know.
All the web's been talking about is Jem.
Jem and her band of sisters revealing a whole new look.
You're on the radio!
No. Oh my God, we're on the radio!
I would have never guessed that coming here would mean a whole new Jerica.
They took out like major pieces. There were no Misfits. There's no synergy.
There's no synergy. And if you're not familiar with the original show, synergy is back then she's basically a supercomputer. Yeah,
me.
she's like so. The whole thing about Gem and the Holograms back then is that they were these 4 women that would then, so Gem, the main character, would be cloaked in an actual hologram, which was one of the things we were very excited about, because we have super cool computers now, and the hologram technology would have been cool.
I mean, Tupac made an appearance, and then come on now, we can do this.
And so there's no holograms, there's no synergy. When she does even reference synergy, it's like synergy now is like just a personal affirmation that she has. And so instead of it being this movie that about these campy characters that are in a band, it's turned into this teen drama coming of age story. So call it anything else. Just don't call it Gem and the Holograms. I think it's another example of them buying the name of something.
I have a
slapping
theory.
it on.
I have 2 theories on how this came together. The first theory is focus groups wrote it, but the second is, and Jayden, I think you probably have seen this happen before too, as the film geek. Often a film is being made in Hollywood, and they get it pretty much wrapped up, and they are short on funding, so they They get someone who wants to make a movie about their property and say, give us some money, we'll put your name on our finished product and change a few things. That's how Starship Troopers was made. It was originally called Bug Hunt at Outpost 9, I think. And at the very last minute, they changed a couple of names and slapped a new label on it. I'm thinking that's probably what happened. This is a coming-of-age story about an awkward teen girl who suddenly becomes
uses
internet
too much
famous.
vocal fry and basically don't let YouTube make you a terrible person. So that's a fine story for another target audience. That would have been fine. But to put it on and now she's got this terrible Kiss version of makeup that doesn't make any sense. There's no holograms. There's no homage to the original work. That it's just frustrating.
It's like something DC would have done to him.
Oh.
I feel like I felt similar feelings about World War Z, which isn't a terrible movie though. I look like this is a terrible movie, period.
It was a great book.
This looks like that. It was a great book.
It was a great
There's
book.
there's very few similarities to the movie though. The movie is a fine movie.
It was like the movie was like a vignette of the book.
Yeah, so I'm like, it's a Brad Pitt zombie movie, which is great. Make a Brad Pitt zombie movie.
Call it that.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Don't call it World War Z
Zombies
if it's not
with
good.
Brad.
Yes, Zombies with Brad. Breakfast with Brad and their zombies.
Okay, so in an alternate universe, let's say the Gem movie didn't suck.
So how do you know? You haven't even watched it yet.
Really?
It's terrible.
I mean, seriously.
You're already
the
making
whole
a
trailer.
sequel.
So okay, and like the little ponies are called bronies. What would the Gem people be called?
I don't think that there'll be fans
Aside from
like
the
this.
holograms,
Right.
they'd be the virals.
The
it's
virals.
all about.
There we go. Because it's about going viral.
I haven't watched the trailer. This is the first I heard it, but I picked up that it's just about a young girl who gets internet famous.
Correct,
right?
and then they take her band and she becomes gangbusters.
It's like
and goes
Miley
out.
Cyrus. That you think you get a different
Hannah
person.
Montana.
Right.
Exactly.
Molly Ringwald's in the movie.
Yes.
Oh, well then I'll watch it.
Yeah, and Juliette Lewis. Juliette Lewis plays her.
She plays an evil character.
Yes. So
Which is, I mean, it's just bizarre. It
she
has-
got to stretch.
I bet this was originally like Tron Guy's autobiography. And they were like, we got to put a better title on this. Get a girl in here.
Because there are so many things about it that I think are missing. Because the original character, I mean, part of the reason why I like Gem is like there was it. Trust me, I'm not saying that it was the best drawn thing or anything like that, but there were a lot of nuances that I thought were interesting about the character. Because Jerrica Benton and she was not just a person that wanted to, she was a record executive who also like ran a homeless youth, she had like
Shelter.
12,
Yeah.
12 homeless youth, these girls that lived in her house, and she was spending all of this time not just trying to become famous, she was also had all these altruistic things that she did and trying to make sure that the Starlight Home was funded and that it was about family and
got the
bringing
company
people
from her dead
together.
dad.
Yes, and her dead dad had made this super awesome computer to make sure that her kids had a legacy, and she's protecting all of these things.
And then the company had this like evil guy trying to take over.
Right,
And
so-
like there were like car chases and
It
There
sounds
was
like Atlas
adventure.
Shrugged for kids.
So there was adventure, and there was all of these. There was like all of these car chases and
outrageous.
fight scenes, and it was fun.
Truly.
And so that was why you could, and then they would have their campy songs that you would sing each week, and you would get little kid earworms and go and sing all of the songs, because there was like between the
it was like
Gem
MTV
songs-
when it was good.
Yeah, so there was Gem songs, there was Misfits, then like the final season they had an extra rival band, the Stingers showed up, like, and they were like
Yeah.
German, and they just caused trouble.
Hello, sir, how you doing?
So when they showed up, you had all these different, all these things that were thrown together, and
We have the stingers, and we are going to take your music from you.
and they were just like, yes, and we're very sexy and had over teased hair, and so you had all these different things
And
that you could do.
guitars with like piano keyboards.
And
Super
the
cool.
other thing that I liked about the original Gem thing is that it was, especially for when it was, very diverse, actually.
Yeah.
Because I mean, that was one of the first shows that I watched where I'm like, the black girl in it was a black girl. There wasn't no question. It was like, I'm like, cool, I get it. And they had an interesting little role model for
And a
everybody.
love triangle.
A love triangle. We had a love triangle.
And Rico was in love with the same girl, but he didn't know
Rio.
it.
Rio.
Oh, was it
Rio.
Rio? Oh.
Yeah, that's okay. We're old.
So everything you're describing now, they'll make that movie, but then we'll call it something else.
They'll call it Master of the Universe.
Perfect.
The coming of
Done.
age story about an awkward boy named Adam. And it's actually a reboot of Say Anything.
Don't you get frustrated now? I mean, talk about all of these things where you go, there's stories about, has Hollywood run out of ideas?
Yes.
They're rebooting The Craft.
Yes, I
Yeah.
saw that as well. And so it's, at first I'm like, okay, that's neat, because some of these things that we really liked, you want to see how they can be recreated or updated and have them still be something that I appreciate. I think that's fine. But now it seems like we're not doing that. We're just going, well, I seem like that's a base, a structural idea, but then we don't actually run with
If
it.
it's not a recreate, it's a sequel.
Yeah.
Or sequels of a
Or
sequel.
a prequel.
Or a prequel.
to a thing you didn't
They're
know
making
that there was a
Independence Day, yeah? Like, but without Will Smith. But Jeff Goldblum is back in it. I'm like, really? We needed a 4th of July Independence Day.
I have a
sequel
mortgage
and the aliens come back. I'm like, I think that first one was perfect.
I went out and spent some time in Hollywood when I was much younger and trying to write for the screen. And I can say that Hollywood is not out of ideas.
Okay.
There are a lot of people out there with great ideas, and no one will take their ideas and make them into things.
Because they're not willing to take that leap of faith
Because
that people will still
the
follow.
profit margin is so much higher on American Idol.
Mhm.
Why would you take a chance on something that's good?
Well, you don't have to worry about that. American Idol's getting canceled as well. So
And there
that
are
shouldn't
only
make you feel bad.
37 other reality shows just like it.
4, but yes, that is true.
I think it's a risk
Yeah.
assessment. I mean, it comes down to financials, and if it's not a 500% return on
Mhm.
investment, it's not worth it.
So-
Apparently. So it's just kind of ridiculous. So
Is it all name recognition now? Is it that people get so worried about
Well,
the...
no, there's amazing independent films out there that have great names attached to them. They just don't, I mean, it's even harder for them to get funded. So
Okay.
some of those actors, major actors, go out there and do indie films because they don't have the right script from the studio that actually challenge them artistically. So they go out there and do these indie films, and these indie films make the festival circuit. And maybe one out of, I mean, they'll eventually get distribution because there is a name attached, but the distribution will be more like a video on demand or international sales.
Mm-hmm.
It probably won't be a big, ginormous theatrical release. It might just be a limited release.
Are we to the point now that when we see one of our favorite titles pop up that we just cringe and presume it's going to be terrible? Like, for instance, when I saw that they were releasing the new trailer for Supergirl, the TV show that's going to be this fall on CBS, I was afraid to watch it because I presumed it was going to be terrible, and then I watched it and it was terrible.
I was intrigued
Okay.
to watch how bad it was going to be. It was pretty bad.
And it does seem back to, Nika Hotep referenced this earlier, the Black Widow spoof they did on Saturday Night Live, where Scarlett Johansson, it was Black Widow, Age of Me, and they redid this like it was a rom-com, and then I saw the trailer for Supergirl that's coming out, and I'm like, it's a rom-com. It's like Devil Wears Prada with a cape.
That's on CBS, yeah?
It's going to be on CBS this fall. So
no one's going to see it.
Well,
As long as if I had a television in the room I'm kept in, I think I'd be a little more optimistic.
you can wait until it comes on Amazon like the rest of everybody else. And so the thing that
Nothing comes on Amazon until it's at least 20 years old.
Yeah,
right?
he'll be here. It's fine. He's been around a long time. He'll be around for a long time more. It's fine. Stop. They're not going to feel bad for you. You can cut all that out. So the thing about the new Supergirl trailer is that all of the things that she says, she's like, wow, you're Jimmy Olsen. He's like, James, and like they're coming back and saying all this stuff. It's almost it's
Jimmy Olsen is like sexy?
Yes, and
he's
so
like
that's a
big, sexy dude.
Does
he's
he
hot.
say, hey, Supergirl?
Yeah, he kind of does. He's a very handsome man, and so it's watching her, come in there, and it's like, you already know my cousin's story, but you don't know mine. And then the happy music starts playing.
The EDM.
She's like, everything. So no, it's very similar to what we saw with the new Gem and the Holograms thing. Put my purse down. Thank you. So, do you see why I don't bring him any place? But it's very similar to what we saw with the Gem and the Holograms new trailer that came out. It's bubblegum and fluff, and I don't know if they were just, hey, NCIS
there's
is
some
too dark.
There's some dark stuff on just network television. I mean,
Yeah,
network
there is.
TV is good now, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So why dumb it down for? I mean, people want that Breaking Bad. People want the Blacklist. I like the Blacklist.
I've heard the Blacklist is fantastic.
It's really great. James Spader is one of my favorite actors. So why dumb it down? I mean, when I watched that trailer, I'm like, she is just playing. She like mid-20s, supposedly.
Right.
And she's still acting like a 15, 16-year-old. Oh, I can't do this. Oh, should I? Or I'm like,
What do you
wrong
think?
with you?
Well, I
Yeah.
know
What do you
real people that act like that, though, well into their 30s.
Why are you looking at me?
Hannibal. Hannibal's another good example.
Or even if we look at Gotham, kind of thing. I think that there are things that you don't dig Gotham.
I still haven't
He
seen
just made a
Gotham.
face. I think Gotham. I like Gotham.
I want to see. I want to see Bruce Wayne as a little kid practicing in the mirror, saying "I'm Batman." Then I'll watch it.
I think Gotham started really strong.
That is true.
And I think it really went downhill. And I think if you compare it to some of the other properties like Arrow, I think Arrow is a fantastic show.
It is.
If I had a
stand-up.
television, if I had a television in the room,
Just
I would watch
watching it a
Arrow.
little while later is not hurting you. You have nothing to do.
I'm a season behind, but Stephen Amell's abs are fantastic.
Yeah.
Captain America.
You see why I don't let him out very often. So it's all good. But I mean, just shallow. It's totally shallow.
So, do you think that with the Supergirl thing that DC is, because I'm assuming they have a lot of say in this, and
it appears
typically when they do, they make very terrible decisions. But does it seem like they're just trying to reach out to a demographic that the comic books crossover into film and television has kind of ignored, and that's the young viewers?
Well, I think there are some other shows that are doing a better job of that. Like they'll have Arrow, which is the darker property in that, and then they have The Flash, which is a lot brighter. But it seemed to me from watching this, it made me concerned that the source material for some of my favorite characters, maybe it just doesn't translate anymore. Because I'm going, okay, the character is so... the feminist in me was very disappointed in the way the character is portrayed, and maybe it'll actually it'll come across bigger and bolder when it's actually in the series, and the trailer doesn't do it justice.
But you're not 9 years old is the thing,
right? But I don't think that if you look at the time slot and where they're going to put it, I don't think that it's made for 9-year-olds either. You want that young. That young demographic, but I think their expectations are even higher too. They're not making it for 9-year-olds. They're making it for, even if you're making it for millennials, I don't think that it's relatable to millennials either.
Or they're just going to make Kara a bimbo. I mean, in DC, she kind of was, out of the superhero family, kind of the bimbo of the tribe.
My heart breaks. My heart breaks hearing that.
If you want a feminist, then let's bring out Wonder Woman and have a Wonder Woman property.
But they'll probably mess that up too. That's what I'm concerned about, is that it's just going to be created poorly.
But like, if you read the New 52, that's some pretty cool storylines.
But you can read any of them and have them make sense, but they don't translate when they turn into anything else. In DC, they make decent cartoons. I will give them that. Their cartoons are, they have some.
Their books are really good.
So the cartoons that you can watch, and he's seen these because they are on Netflix. So the cartoons are actually very good, and actually I think better than the Marvel cartoons.
They're like the animated series.
Correct.
They're almost adult.
So
Young Justice was great.
Yeah, so they are capable of making decent things. So having it be so cliche ridden, that's where I get disappointed. It's like, okay, that's what you decided to translate that to once we got on TV. There's room for there's so much room for this character, and they decided not to go that direction. I'm not saying it had to go super dark and she was supposed to be a whole different person, but Devil Wears Prada, then just make Devil Wears Prada the series and don't make my head hurt. Like, this is even worse, I thought, than if you were a big Lois and Clark fan. It wasn't heavy, kind of stuff. It was like, there was nothing. That was full of whimsy and weird. That was a romantic comedy. Yeah. Wow. So that was
I think
fine.
that's a theme here with Nico Tep here.
Yes, yeah. He's like,
Oh, no, Terry Hatcher, too.
He's equal opportunity. So, but that, so this week is just, trailers were I was just crabby every time I watched a trailer, that I was, to the point now that I'm reserving judgment whenever I do things going forward. So,
are there any trailers coming up in the next couple of weeks? Like, what are some of the films? I'm trying to think about. I'm so into indie films right now that I'm kind of lost touch reality with like what's big out now. I mean, obviously, watched Avengers and whatnot.
Right.
Pitch Perfect 2 opened last night.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
It's getting okay reviews.
The first one was good. Well, and
first one I liked.
So there's an example of a movie that didn't exactly have, a whole lot of.
Name recognition, no star power.
There was really not a whole lot of star power. It was a concept that...
Is that the first big break for Anna Kendrick? That up in the air.
She had a couple other things, but I mean, it was one of those movies that there really wasn't a whole lot of spin around that all of a sudden it just skyrocketed.
And again, it's all about demographics, like who you're trying to. So
should we place a bet down this weekend? Because if that came out and then Mad Max came out as well, so are we seeing which one is? Because that is getting. I was going to bring that up. That is getting really great reviews. So which do we think we're going to see as the bigger box office success this weekend? Because I think they'll both do well.
Oh, Charlize.
Mad Max.
Mad Max.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Mad Max.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Mad Max is gonna.
People won't go for the
Double
singing and the whimsy. The whimsy is not going to knock mine.
I think that has like a longer stay power over the course of distribution. So video on demand. I think a lot of people will download it. I think
Pitch Perfect. You mean?
Pitch
too.
Perfect. But I think Mad Max is made for the big screen, so you need to go see that on the big screen.
The soundtrack for Pitch Perfect 2 is kind of. It's a lot of medleys.
So if you get annoying this week, that's what I'm gonna leave on repeat in the bedroom.
There will be disaster. You will find your underwear drawer a mess.
Oh, geez, it's always a mess. So, so I think that's our homework assignments now. We'll watch Mad Max and try and squeeze in Pitch Perfect 2 and see how that goes. And we did this. We're actually on our way to a couple of field trips this afternoon.
Super excited.
Yes, I promised him I would take him to the MSP. No, I told him I'd take him to MSP Comic-Con. So there's a comic book.
Nice.
Thing.
Yeah,
So
I enchanted a necklace so that way she doesn't to carry the box around.
Yes.
What's in the box?
Big.
You keep mentioning the box. What's in the box?
It's my.
It's
jewelry.
Gwyneth Paltrow's head.
It's my jewelry.
What's in the box?
We call it my home away from home.
And so it's my jewelry box, and this is the box I keep my bracelets in. And he's just not a fan of most of my bracelets, and I don't care.
That's because they're cheap.
Well, shut up. I don't care. At least the box I used to keep them in was like, this is a much more spacious box.
I thought you were going to open it up and the spirit was going to get released. And
No. He's just bound to the box in general.
Relationship advice.
No. He's
so
kind of
wherever
a lazy
he goes,
spirit.
the box goes.
Yes, wherever the box goes, he's goes.
That makes sense. Right?
Yeah, he's gotten a little lazy over the years. But
if you could have relationship advice for 3 different, I guess, stages of your relationship. So at the beginning, and then the middle, and then if you've been around for a while, with the same person for a while, what would that be?
Oh, golly.
For a friend. Not for Jayden.
For a friend. So, all right. See, in the beginning, keep some mystery. Keep some mystery going around. And
that almost made sense.
Right.
Okay. All right. In the middle.
In the middle?
Yes.
Don't go to bed angry.
Oh, look at that. Yeah, I've heard that happen before. Yeah, I've heard that advice.
Because the thing is, she'll stab you.
Okay.
She will not do that.
Oh,
yet.
Actually,
Maybe.
I have a theory. I'm old. I have a theory that
eventually everyone gets stabbed in the middle?
No, there's far more female serial killers than men.
But they don't stab.
They just kill you slowly over decades.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw the color purple.
All right.
And in the end, just be happy.
Just admit that is where you are for the rest of your life.
Just resignation.
Just give in.
Just
settle in.
She's always right. Just nod and smile.
I think she's always right is actually the very first thing. That's how you get to the middle and then eventually the end.
I look across the table and I just nod and smile and thank my lucky stars that she doesn't crack the little gem around her neck.
That's true. That's very true. I do love you, Nikahotep. You're a great friend.
I adore you.
All right. Well, speaking of the end, we are near the end now. Next week, we are going to have our friend and political geek, Robert Burrell, on the show. He's going to come in and tell me what, am I to the point? I look at like the political season like I do the baseball season. I'm like, there are so many games. There are so many. What part of the season do I need to start paying attention?
So we're talking local politics or just politics in general?
You know what? He's going to be focusing on politics in general. Okay. But if we have if there's something that you wanted to know that you didn't want to bother to actually read about, just ask him. He knows. It all is.
And this is radio's Robert Burrell, right?
Correct. Yeah. Yes, he has. He has a number of shows on the local radio station AM 950. So he has Laughing Matters. He also has another show called Pardon the Dissent. So he is a wealth of historical and political information.
We welcome questions from anybody who's listening.
Yeah.
If you have specific questions about anything politics, go ahead and Facebook us.
Because I'm pretty much like Snoop Dogg, and I'm like, okay, what part of history did I learn? And it was probably from a source that was not good reference material. So
like Game of Thrones.
It was either, or it was
or Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter.
Yes,
Like
I know
that.
that. I was also going to say that I know a lot. If it was in Schoolhouse Rock, then I remember the Schoolhouse Rock. I learned that. Or the musical 1776. That is where a lot of my historical
I like
references.
the comedy, The Spirit of '76 with Julie Brown
okay.
and Red Cross. No one saw that.
Downtown Julie Brown.
No, the other one, the redhead.
Oh, the
Homecoming Queen's got a gun.
Yes. So he can fact check any of our historical references that are really based upon those kind of movies.
So, watch your favorite Doctor Who episode and then ask him how accurate that was.
Because he loves that. That's what we should do.
Yeah?
That's what we should do.
Good to
it's
know.
just next week. Just spend the whole time bringing up references that are based on Doctor Who history. And
which of the current candidates represent?
That'll be perfect. So we want to thank our friends over at Custom T-Shirt Central. They always help us out. Also, our good friend Chris McDuffie from Chris McDuffie Photography. He's our big friend, and our friends over at Twin Cities Geek. Also, Jayton and the Twin Cities Film Festival. And we will see you guys next week with Robert Burrell.